BYU has become one of the biggest spenders in college basketball. Everybody knows this. And they're also becoming a hub for international players. Yegor Demin is coming off of an awesome season that's going to likely get him taken in the NBA draft lottery. You've got other guys on the roster that hail from international basketball programs right now. One of the biggest international prospects in the world, Hugo Gonzalez, apparently had an offer to play at BYU that he turned down. And this is breaking news yesterday. Jonathan Givony just sort of tweeted this. It felt like he was just like sneaking this on the timeline because I cover BYU a lot. I know you do too. I've never heard of this. I didn't know this was a thing. So Hugo Gonzalez, if you're unfamiliar, he's a Spanish star, projected first round pick type. I mean, I think if he had chosen to play a year in college, he probably has a similar impact to a Yegor Demin or a Kasparas Yakashonis, even if it goes a little differently stylistically. But apparently, per Gavoni, this is his tweet yesterday. He said, European teams should do a better job of making it attractive for young players to stay home. Hugo Gonzalez left over $1 million on the table from BYU, but can barely get off the bench some games for Real Madrid. It's pretty clear Yegor Demin made the right decision to leave. Gavoni, what? Like when did this offer go on the table? What happened? I didn't know this happened. Are you as confused or surprised on this as I am, Ralph?
Yes. Now, I think there are a number of factors at play where, we've seen guys come over and really succeed in college, and there's also been guys who've come over and not as much. We talk about the ones who succeeded because there's been a good number of them, particularly this past year, who really helped themselves and helped kind of define the college basketball season. Made this a real trend, but that's certainly not a guarantee. And $1 million is obviously great. I would love to have $1 million. I'm sure you would love to have $1 million, right? But he's projected to be a first round pick, probably a late first round pick, right? The 20 to 30 range. If he's picked 30th, your contract over 4 years, if your team picks up the two team options on that, is over 14 million. And that's guaranteed. Because there's the 2 year team option, so let's just look at the 2 years. If you're picked 30th, that's 5.5 million. And if you end up at 20, it's like 7.5 or so. So that's a significant sum over a 2 year period that he can kind of that's what you're comparing the 1 million to, right? So if you need the 1 million plus, a Yaxel Landenborg type deal, or you can just go in the draft and hold firm with where you're at. I think that comes into play too, where the economics are a little bit different. Plus, you don't know what your role at BYU is going to be. You know what it's. There are a lot of different variables at play, but the one thing that's not is that set rookie scale contract in the NBA, and so it takes some of the other factors out of the equation a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. So I have some follow-up questions on this. So Hugo's projected to be taking this draft, right? He's a projected
Yes.
first round pick this year. So my interpretation of Gavoni's tweet or report or whatever you want to call it here is that if BYU had offered $1 million for Hugo Gonzalez, they offered him last year, the same year they brought in Yegor. Is that the right interpretation of this?
I try to look at it from both standpoints.
Okay.
Where if it's a year ago, you don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have the Yegor and the Kasparis to lean back on. If it's this year, what role are you going to play? And you're going to be overshadowed by Debanza.
Yeah. That's a good point. So here's why I think my interpretation would have been last year. If it was a $1 million offer, got to be last year, right? I mean, BYU spent 3+ million for Rob Wright. Who knows how many millions for AJ DeBanza? Like, if they were trying to get Hugo Gonzalez for this year to the point that, oh, we'll make an offer, it's
Yeah.
almost certainly more than 1 million. Now, last year, Yegor was a little over one. That's what I heard. So
Wasn't he right around two, or at least it was reported at the time it was around two? That
it
was what he wanted.
was. So what I had heard was Illinois, because Illinois wanted Yegor before Kasparis, and I think Illinois offered, I want to say 600,000 or 700,000, and then BYU just swooped in and BYU'd. basically. It was over
Yes.
seven figures, is what I heard. But last year, it's kind of my point, right? Last year, Rob Wright in the portal would have gotten like $600,000, and we would have all thought that's a huge
Yeah.
number. This year, it's
Right.
exploded. The whole thing has ballooned. So I interpret because it's a $1 million price point, that would have been last year's offer, not this year's. And I guess my question is, did they want Hugo and Yegor? Was that an
That would have been
attempt from
fun.
Kevin Young?
That would have been fun. That would have been a lot of fun.
If so, I'm mad at Hugo, man. Like, can you imagine if you dropped Hugo Gonzalez on this team with Richie Saunders and Yegor Devin last year? Would have been insane.
Still don't play much defense, but maybe you could have kept pace with Bama making all those threes.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I would have adored it. Do you think in general, this is just more data to me that like Kevin Young is a baller though. Like he's sneakily playing in areas we don't even know he's playing in across the globe right now, right? This video is presented by Underdog Fantasy, and they've got a free pick tonight that you're going to want to take advantage of. Anthony Edwards to score over 0.5 points and scores every single playoff game. As far as I know, Cart, has he ever not scored?
Not since I've been alive, and that's 32 years for those wondering out there.
That pick sounds extremely free. Promo code SLEEPERS as a first-time depositor at Underdog Fantasy. You can get up to $1,000 in bonus bets and a free pick. This is the shortest ad read we've ever done. You're welcome. Back to the video.
Yeah, like BYU is internationally recruiting at a very high level that perhaps nobody other than Illinois is, and it seems like they're prioritizing that a little bit, pitching his experience as a in the NBA as a way to help them get there, and it's working. Combined with the price tag, combined with as Gavoni mentioned, the playing time. There's a lot that BYU has figured out how to sell itself. Kevin Young has figured out how to sell what BYU has, and it's the price tag's enticing as well.
So a couple more follow-ups because I find this so interesting in general, the international pivot for college basketball. Number one, if you're BYU, and we now know, everybody knows, it's not a secret anymore. Everybody knows you have the deepest pockets in this sport. Is it wise to prioritize one certain type of prospect over the other, or are you trying to play everything and it's going to change year after year? Because Illinois, as you mentioned, is like we're the international landing spot. It's clearly a strategic decision. They are going
Yep.
as all in on it as you can. BYU has dipped a toe in, clearly tried to do it heavily last year, isn't going away from it. They're still doing it. But as far as I know, for next year, they're not doing the Illinois model. They're not after seven different Balkan players. They're going after American recruits from the high
Right.
school ranks. They're going after transfers. They're doing it all. What's sort of the transitive property here of where a program that has the deepest pockets in basketball, where should they be spending their money?
I think it depends on a year by year basis, and I think BYU has been good with that, right? I think the way they prioritize Rob Wright in particular speaks to that. Debansa is a separate, unique situation where they had a chance to get the top player in the country, one of the top players in the country, and had kind of, depending on how you view his high school experience, potentially had been working towards that for a while. To me, it's a fully expansive, like we want to get the best players available. We want to get the people who are best for our system that we possibly can. And if you extend that to the international ranks, it largely increases your chances of getting a good player, right? Let's say the Balkans don't produce a quality player next year, and that's where Illinois is only focused. You're kind of at the mercy of how good the international pool is, right? If you're a transfer portal heavy team, you're at the mercy of how good the portal is and who enters the portal in a year. Same way if you want to be a freshman heavy team. If you expand who you're looking at to everybody, you can be like, okay, we want to prioritize these people in the portal because this is kind of a threshold. If we don't get enough of those, there are these international prospects that we think kind of fit the bill for what we're looking for and can be good enough. These freshmen could fit the bill. So instead of having a list that's maybe 20 people long in one category, you have like four different lists in four categories that are maybe 5, 6, 7 each. And it's smart way to go about it. But BYU, I think, has been one of the few that's been able to actually dip into multiple categories the way that they need to.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's value to like watering your plants in a variety of different places and ways, right? Like
Yeah.
you could go all in if you're BYU and be like, we are the high school John Calipari. We're going to get all the 5 stars.
Right.
Okay, that can work. Clearly, we've seen it happen years ago. You could do what Illinois is doing, TBD on if that's going to work. Or you could try and be very good as a landing spot in sort of all of the buckets and be really well rounded and balanced profile wise. It seems like that's what Kevin Young is doing. I think it's the right move. Also, because I think last year was a really strong class for international prospects. That's not always the case. We've seen that even at the high school ranks, where one year there's a really strong American high school class, then the next year it's not. A 5-star recruit is a lot less valuable than he was the year before.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see how that transpires as international prospects keep coming over here. Last question for me. In general, from the players' perspective for these international guys, would you say that the last year has proven that going to college is the right step for you if you want to get to the NBA? Obviously, it's situational,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you pull out Yegor, you pull out Kasparis. I think both of them had very up and down seasons, but I think in the end, the sum of it all, they both still helped their draft stock a good amount just by
Yeah.
going there. And you compare it to like a Nolan Traore. Last year, everybody wanted him. Duke was calling him. Gonzaga was calling him. He says,
Yep.
no, I'm not coming to college. He's gone from a projected top 3 pick to maybe a lottery pick at this point. Meanwhile, Jeremiah Fears is like going to go in the top 6. So
Right.
I think there's an argument going to college is actually the right move if you want to boost your NBA draft stock as an international player. But maybe I'm jumping the gun on that. What's your take?
I think with what we know right now, going to college will improve your draft stock more than staying overseas. Right now, and I'll get to why right now matters in a second. Remember when Luca was coming out? He had all of the Euro stuff that you could possibly have, the youngest to do all this stuff. He was dominating the second best league in the world. Yet NBA draft scouts and pundits like us were like, can he do it at Purdue? Like, could he do it if he was playing at the rack? Right? What's going to happen there? And gets to the league, and it doesn't matter. Like, he's great, but from a draft standpoint, it caused him to not go number one. This year, you've seen the guys in college who the American scouts, the American media, the American Basketball League have seen in a more traditional system that we know how to evaluate what that looks like, right? And so those guys are going higher. Then, like Nolan Traore stayed overseas, struggled a little bit, figured it out the back end of the year, but the struggles with the microscope on him caused him to fall in conjunction with those guys doing well. Now, the right now matters because if we get into next year and Yegor Demin, Kasparis, international guys who did go to college, struggle a little bit the way rookies do, right? Just getting used to professional ranks, getting used to that level. But Nolan Traore doesn't because those rookie struggles were what he had the first part of last year when he had a bigger role in EuroLeague. And he comes out of the gates on fire. That's going to change the way we look at this next year, 2 years, 3 years. Because if a guy struggles in Europe, then it's going to become the standpoint. He's just getting those rookie struggles out of the way. Now, playing against grown men that Yegor Demin and Yakushonis didn't. So I think it's going to be like this NBA season is going to be an interesting view and impact a lot of how we view it for the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It feels like such a unique time in college basketball history because just things that have never happened before are happening from
Right.
a financial standpoint and also now a player intake standpoint. And I think you're right. I think it's going to evolve a lot, but at bare minimum, we know college is such an appealing destination to these guys now. They know, oh, I can make that money. I can get paid to be a professional basketball player, basically. But in America, where I want to be a year from now when I go to the draft,
Right.
like it's only going to be more prevalent. I feel like if you look backwards a year, maybe I'm projecting, but I feel like if Nolan Traore could make his decision again, he would have gone the American route. And I think it probably would have helped his draft stock. Because again, I think Kasparis and Yegor, as good as they are, they had a lot of down moments this year. There were inconsistencies. Their weaknesses are certainly on tape now, and it hasn't hurt their draft stock. These guys have not come in and hurt what NBA GMs think of them. They're still in line to be lottery picks. So now part of that, you got to be as good as Kasparis and Yegor. Not every international player is, and there's quite a few guys that are coming, but Hugo Gonzalez specifically, I think he's good enough. And I think had he come to BYU, maybe we're talking about him as a lottery pick right now and not an end of the first round pick. So very interesting. Gavoni, I know what you did. You tried to sneak that in there and thought nobody would notice. We're on to your tricks, Gavoni. BYU, you've got some tricks too.